Sawadika! I'm Yan Yan. This is not Thailand. I'm in Chaozhou, a city in East Guangdong province of China. Chaozhou is part of the region that is referred to as the Ancestral place by over 30 million overseas Chinese. 1/3 of them live in Thailand. This temple was constructed to celebrate the relationship between Thailand and Chaozhou that dates back for centuries. Today, I'll take you to explore Chaozhou and we'll talk about its history and historic relationship with Thailand.
Chaozhou is also spelled as Teochew, as in the local dialect. In the Ming Dynasty, this whole area in East Guangdong province was Chaozhou, with the capital city in today's Chaozhou city. In the Qing Dynasty, the Hakka region in the north was taken out to be a new district, and Chaozhou or Teochew usually referred to the chaoshan plain that consisted of today's Chaozhou, Shantou, and Jieyang. This painting was the city Chaozhou in the late Qing Dynasty. The ancient town is on the west bank of the river. A bridge stretches out from the Guangji gate on the eastern city wall to the other bank of the river.
The bridge behind me is the icon of Chaozhou. It was constructed in the Song Dynasty in the 12th century. And it was not until 1989 that a second bridge was constructed over the Han River. So for most overseas chaoshan people who emigrated between the 18th century to early 20th century, it was the only bridge in their memory. Even the image of the bridge made them homesick.
The stone piers were first constructed in the Song Dynasty in the 12th century. As the constructors approached the center of the river, they realized that it's impossible to build stone piers there as water was running too fast. Small boats were assembled in the center to link the two parts of the bridge together. So Guangji Bridge is the partial stone and partial floating bridge, which makes it so unique. Listen to the squeaky sound of the floating bridge when I was walking on it. At night, the floating part would be disassembled and the boats would be taken away. The next morning, the small boats would be put back. The Guangji Bridge used to be a money-generating machine for centuries. During Mid-Ming Dynasty, tax generated at this bridge could cover the military expenditure of the entire Guangdong province, and even with a surplus. How was money made? Chaozhou has been a salt-producing area as early as the Tang Dynasty. Salt produced in Chaozhou was mainly shipped via the rivers to the hilly areas in northeast Guangdong province, west Fujian province, and south Jiangxi province. Ships from salt farms had to travel via the Han River to their designated sales region, and tax agency was set at the Guangji Bridge. The pavilions on the bridge were tax offices. If we zoom in, we can see the wooden bars between the stone piers. It worked the same way as in a parking lot. After taxes paid, the bars would be lifted for the ship to pass. These old photos were taken by Scottish photographer John Thompson in late 19th century. According to Mr. Thompson, the bridge reminded him of the London Bridge, on which there were also stores and houses. When South merchants came to Chaozhou, they would load the fleet with their local products. Stores were opened on the Guangji Bridge for sales of those goods. And Chaozhou in the Qing dynasty became the second largest city in Guangdong province in terms of trade volumes, only after Guangzhou. About 1 kilometer away, there is a modern bridge completed in 2007. Up in the hill is a good spot to enjoy the view of the bridge and the water. This is the northeast corner of the ancient city. As you can see, this part of the city was built on a hill. It's not my first time to film the Han River. I've been to the origin of the river, where the Ting River, Mei River, and the Meitan River all meet together and form the Han River. I also visit the ancestral house of Li Kuan Yew in China, which is also near this river. The river is shared by both Hakka people and Chaoshan people, with Hakka people living in the upper reach and Chaoshan people living in the lower reach. Now let me tell you where the name Han River came from. The answer lies in a temple up in the mountain on the east bank of the river. By the way, the mountain is also named Mount Han. The temple was built in commemoration of a governor of Chaozhou in history, Han Yu. In 819, after irritating the emperor, Han Yu was expelled from the imperial court in capital Chang'an and was demoted to Chaozhou. It was all due to an essay he wrote. One day, the emperor received a finger bone of Buddha and wanted to shrine it in the imperial palace for 3 days to pay tribute. Han Yu strongly opposed it.
Han Yu wrote an essay to the emperor, advising the emperor to demolish the finger bone. In the essay, he cascaded the emperor, quoting all prior emperors who were devotees of Buddhism and came to no good end. The emperor was like, and Han Yu ended up in Chaozhou.
In the Tang Dynasty, Chaozhou was probably the remotest place an emperor could think of. Being demoted to Chaozhou was just a tiny little better than being sentenced to death. Actually, in a poem Han Yu wrote about this event, he expressed huge disappointment and sadness. He worried he would die in Chaozhou. What was Chaozhou like at that time? It could be found in an essay Han Yu wrote. In the essay, he was trying to persuade crocodiles in the river to go away. So in the Tang Dynasty, there were crocodiles in this river, and local people were often hurt. Of course, the crocodiles were not talked away, but they were gone, and Chaozhou people really appreciate that. In Chaozhou, Han Yu carried out governance by law and established the schools in town.
Han Yu was not only a statesman, but also one of the most acclaimed literary figures in the Tang Dynasty. We learn his essays in junior high. I'll show you 2 sentences to give you a taste of what we learn in Chinese class in junior high. 业精于勤，荒于嬉，行成于思，毁于随。 A career or a skill is advanced with diligence and hard working. It will be retarded by slacking off. Achievements are accomplished with independent thinking, not just by following what others are saying.
Diligence, independent thinking. Over a millennium later, Han Yu's idea is still inspiring young people in China. Chaozhou people felt really honored to have such a top talent to be their governor. They thought, although it's a personal tragedy for Han Yu, it was a fortune to their town. Han Yu only stayed in Chaozhou for 7 months before he was caught up for other tasks. It's about time for the emperor to cool down. Although it was such a short period, Chaozhou people regard it to be a milestone in the history of the town. Therefore, they named the river and the mountain in the town after the surname of Han Yu. The river was no longer a wild place with crocodiles. It became the Han River. Sounds so noble and so civilized. Now let's go back to the topic in the beginning of the video. When and how did Chaozhou and Thailand establish a close relationship? It was the delicious rice from Thailand that connected the two places together. South China is full of hills and lacks of arable land. Food sufficiency has been a big challenge here. In 1722, after learning that Thailand produced abundant and cheaper rice, Emperor Kangxi ordered to import rice from Thailand duty-free. Fujian Province, Guangdong Province, and Ningbo of Zhejiang Province each got 1/3 of the quota. The Chaoshan plan might have been self-sufficient on rice, but the hilly Hakka area to the north of the Chaoshan plan historically relied on rice from other regions as a supplement. That's why Chaozhou became one of the ports to receive Thai rice. The rice could be shipped to the Hakka area via the same rivers as the salt produced in Chaozhou. The trade between Chaozhou and Thailand was mostly conducted in a port located near the northern branch of the Han River.
This used to be a port that engaged in trade mainly with Thailand during the 18th to the 19th century. The red-head boat behind me was the icon of this route. It was also estimated over 1 million Chaoshan people migrated to Thailand from here.
A few years after rice trade between Thailand and Chaozhou started, a person from the coastal area of Chaozhou went to Thailand. There, he married a local woman and in 1734 had a son named Taksin. Taksin fought back invaders and established the Thornbury Kingdom in Thailand. Taksin encouraged the relationship between Thailand and the Qing dynasty. More Chaoshan people migrated to Thailand. The red-headed boat carrying rice to Jiangling port wouldn't go back to Thailand empty. They would bring back goods that Chinese in Thailand needed. So trade between the two places further flourished. Today, there's not much left from a prosperous port in history. This was a portion of the coastal levee. Close to the levee is a street that was full of warehouses.
This street was full of warehouses to store commodities to be traded and shipped to Thailand. The first building on the street was the customs. The government always knows where to collect tax. The front side of the warehouse was facing the street to exhibit products to the potential buyers. The back of the warehouse goes to the private dock. And yes, there used to be a lot of docks along this river. After a deal is made, commodities would be loaded to small ships from here and would be taken to the Red Hat boat parked at the port. The port was abandoned after being replaced by the Shantou port in the 19th century, and today it is actually quite far away from the ocean due to land reclaiming.
After the Second Opium War, Shantou was forced to open to Western imperial countries. Steamboats replaced red-headed boats. The region started to be called the Chaoshan region, with Shantou being added into the name. The shift facilitated people living in the west of the Chaoshan plain to migrate to Thailand. In 1860s, a man took a boat with his wife and 2 sons from his village to Shantou, and from Shantou they went to Thailand. Over a century later, the 5th generation of this family, Thaksin Shinawatra, became the Prime Minister of Thailand. At the end of the video, I'll briefly show you the ancient town. The main street in the town has a memorial walkway every few blocks. On both sides of the main street, there are lots of alleys with Chaoshan-style houses. From the Song dynasty to Ming dynasty, many Hokkien migrated to the Chaoshan plain from the southern coast of Fujian province. So the Chaoshan dialect, culture, and houses bear a lot of resemblance to those in the Hokkien region. Bad news is that most houses are not open to public. But I know where to go. In next video, I'll show you different Chaoshan houses. In an earlier video when I visited the ancestral house of Lee Kuan Yew, I said that house had a Chaoshan style. In fact, that's a basic unit of Chaoshan house. What are the features of Chaoshan house? How are they different from Hakka house? In next video, from a basic unit to a complex compound, I'll give you a comprehensive demonstration on Chaoshan houses. I'm Yan Yan. I make videos about sites of interest in China and histories and stories behind them. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.